Welcome to the Winchester Unitarian Society. My name is Diana Jaquinta, and I'm a member of WSIG and also an RE teacher. Our progressive faith calls us to be radically inclusive, which means offering a seat, a smile, and a hug with consent to everyone who joins us here today to worship, in person and online, regardless of race, country of origin, documentation, sexual or romantic orientation, gender identity, income, physical ability, education, and whether or not you're wearing a suit or pajamas. You're all welcome, and we are grateful to have you joining us today. We would also welcome people of all ages and stages, and we want everyone, and that means you, and 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 you, to know that your wiggles and your giggles are all welcome here. New folks of all ages should know that you're always welcome to grab animal ears and a chalice or embroidery kits from the RE table right on your right as you walk in from the foyer. It's over there. To keep your fingers busy during service. After worship, all are invited to coffee and conversation in the Sims room at the back of the sanctuary. Please note that we will now use the slideshow before and after every worship to give in most announcements, though I will also want to briefly highlight one announcement. Next week, everyone is invited to stay after worship and make soup jars for those in need. Please find Deb Walsh. It's really fun. After the service. See Deb to learn more, sign up, and join in the fun way to serve our community. Finally, just a quick note that there are some last-minute changes from what's written in your order of service. Caroline Bronsky will now be reading the invocation and chalice extinguishing words, and Sam will read the chalice lighting. Also, the offering outreach recipient today is the UUA Disaster Relief Fund, not the Green Roots. Now, let us open our hearts and minds to the spirit of worship.
Every ancestor you have is alive in your body right now. Every descendant that will be is in your body right now. Rest heals your past, present, and future. Gather your granddaddy's blankets. Let them cover your dreams. Go and get your great-grandmama's quilted pillows. Place them under your knees. Your rest rewrites their history, creating an ancient beginning. Rest and give birth to new endings. Now, please rise in body or rise in spirit to join in singing our opening hymn, number 49 in the Great Hymnal, Stillness Reigns.
I now invite Diana to light the chalice while I read our blanket fort prayer. Meet me at the altar of banned books, blanket fort sanctuary. We will dance to a chorus of children's laughter. Meet me in the joy, the sorrow, beneath the rainbow banner. Bring your questions, your cares, concerns. Bring the glitter in your pocket and the sparkle in your smile. Bring your heavy heart, your favorite mug, your very best swear words, and set down your very bravest face. Meet me in the heartbeat between what has been and what will be. Meet me in the flicker of our eternal flame. We need not face this moment alone. At this time, I invite our youngest to come on down here and join me for a little activity. All right, friends, thanks for coming down. All right, so quick question. Who here likes to help people? Awesome, lots of you. I like helping people too. So, we are actually gonna do some things to help people. And don't forget, next week, you're also gonna help people by building those soup jars, right? Does anyone remember doing that last year? Yeah, did you have fun? Soup jars, yes. Exactly, lots of excitement for that. So you're gonna be helping out people in our community next week, but today, we are actually gonna be helping out people in this very room. So, I have a question for y'all. Does anyone here know what your parents could probably use right now more than just about anything else in the world? Any children know what your parents could use? Yeah. Love? Yes, that is a good answer. Everyone can use more love. Yeah, no, I don't think your parents need more video games. But no, a couple of you said it right away, right? You said sleep or a nap. And I think you're right? All right, so how many of you guys get to take naps sometimes during the day? Do any of you take naps regularly anymore? No? Yeah? Some of you? Naps and going to the bathroom. Those are definitely two important things that we all should do, right? How many people out there take naps? All right, nice. Nice. That's pretty impressive, actually. Yeah, so one of the things that little kids are kind of experts at sometimes is taking naps, right? But I don't know, what do you think? No, not really? Okay, some of you. Do you know what else kids are really experts at and way better than their parents at doing? Video games, yes. But also building blanket forts. Yeah. Have you guys built blanket forts before? You do it in your basement? Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So you guys are the experts. But unfortunately, I feel like grown-ups often forget how to make blanket forts. So we're gonna need you all to help them right now. So you guys already found it right here. You've got a pile of cushions and blankets. And adults, if you want some help getting a blanket or building a blanket fort, you can just raise your hands. And you guys, you're gonna get to deliver these blankets and cushions to the adults up there so that help them get cozy. All right, help them build some blanket forts. We don't have a whole lot of time, so don't go too crazy. But it looks like there's a few people out there who really want to get cozy and need your help with those blanket forts. And someone out there has my lucky blanket fort buddy teddy bear. So whoever that is, you're lucky. Oh, there he is. That's my best buddy right there. I always have him in my blanket fort. All right, and when you guys are done helping them build the blanket forts, you can come back down because we're gonna do something else, all right? All right, looks like we got some good blanket forts out there. RE teachers, did anyone get those lights? We have a couple special lights if people want to set up some lights in their blanket forts too. We go all out when we build blanket forts in the Winchester Unitarian Society, just so you know. Okay, we gave out a couple lights. Oh yeah, there we go. Got some lights over there. Perfect. Cool. All right, thank you guys for helping with that. So now I have one other thing that y'all are gonna help me and us with, okay? So later today we're gonna be telling the grown-ups in here that they need naps sometimes too. Yes, exactly, and you get a blanket as well because you also need to be cozy. We all need to take breaks sometimes, right? Have any of you guys ridden on an airplane before? Yeah? So you know when they're talking to you about the safety stuff at the start, they tell your parents they're supposed to put on their oxygen mask first before they help you out, right? That's because if your parents are gonna help you, they have to breathe too, right? Right, exactly, so it's the same thing. And so that's why we want everyone of all ages to remember that they need naps and stuff too, right? So we're gonna tell them that, but I know sometimes it's a little hard. You guys can share the blanket if you want to, right? So a lot of the grown-ups are gonna hear us telling them that, and then they're gonna go home, and they're gonna keep working, and keep doing everything they do every day. So we need to give them a little reminder that they can take home with them, that rest is really important. So what you guys are gonna do right now is what's called a reverse offering. That means that we're gonna give things out to everyone else out there instead of taking things from them, okay? So your RA teachers are gonna help you, but you guys are gonna be passing out little hot chocolate and rainbow marshmallow kits to everyone out there. So if anyone wants to help pass those out, you can go either this way with Milo or over here with Diana. And our youth, Caroline maybe, are gonna help pass out the cards. We have radical rest cards for everybody. Each of them has a special way to remind you how to rest and resist grind culture. So we're gonna make sure everyone has at least one hot cocoa. Parents, take some extra for your kids. All right, and when you guys are done, you can come back here. We have one final thing that we need to do together. All right, one last thing. Thank you so much for helping build the blanket forts and passing out the hot cocoa and the marshmallows and the cards. Hopefully everyone got one. We still have some more up here. If you didn't, you can get it after the service. But one final thing, guys, all right? So we need everyone to get cozy, but we need to give them a blessing to get cozy. Did you guys know that everyone can actually give out blessings, not just ministers? So can you guys all stand up, please, kids? And I'm gonna have you give your best spirit fingers out to the rest of the congregation, so point out that way, all right? And on the count of 3, you're all gonna say, May you be blessed with rest. You got that? All right, that was a good practice. May you be blessed with rest. Now, on the count of three, we're all going to say it, okay? 1, 2, 3. May you be blessed with rest. Amen. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Neighboring faiths, y'all can stay here. Otherwise, RU teachers are also going to stay here. But otherwise, the rest of you are going to go downstairs for science club now. So those of you staying here are invited to return the blessing and sing the kids out.
Thank you. My grandmother was so tired that my mother was born tired. My mama's so tired that I'm tired right now. And I see my children getting tired, so it's time to put this to bed. I will give time to my children. They will inherit a legacy of resting. Leisure time and vacation days taken, sick time used to nap and renew. I'll steal time and show them how to eat it raw. I'll say yes to my babies on the clock, show them how to tuck joy and stillness into the pockets of reclaimed life. When I accrue time, I let them see how I use it. When I take time, I give it to them and let them play. I save time in their names for them to practice how to protect it and spend it on rest. It has been said that the best things in life are free. Untrue. The high cost of the best things in life is time. My progeny will know that time seeds restoration, how creativity is nurtured by time to play, how love is deepened by time together, how revolution needs time to imagine, how healing and growing are possible, and what it takes to rebuild broken skin and bone. That wellness is rest, is time, is wealth. In a moment, we will light candles in recognition of the joys and sorrows resting in our hearts. If you would like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand, and Allison will bring a candle to your pew. After we light our candles, we will share a time of silence together, and then we will sing our centering hymn, number 1008 in the Teal hymnal, Meditation on Breathing. Let us now kindle the light.
invite you to join us in actually hymn 1009 in the Teal hymnal, meditation on breathing. And I'd like us to do this a specific way to start, and then you can sort of choose your own adventure. But you'll notice there's the melody, the descant, and the drone. That's on the third line down. I'd like us to start with the drone, sing that through twice. We'll do the melody twice all together, the descant twice all together. And then if you'd like to pick one of those parts that you enjoy the most to sing for the duration.
want to invite you to relax, get comfortable, really comfortable, stretch, yawn, slouch. This is a message best heard when you're not thinking about how uncomfortable the pew is or your best church posture. I've always had a hard time sleeping. I first experienced insomnia in elementary school. I remember lying awake in bed, watching the numbers change on the digital alarm clock on my nightstand, wondering if I would see the little light next to PM turn off and the one next to AM come on. By the time I was in middle school, I would get myself so worked up at night that I wouldn't fall asleep until 3 in the morning. A constant stream of anxious thoughts would swirl around in my head, and no matter how physically exhausted I felt, my brain just wouldn't shut off. In high school, medication and therapy helped me get both my sleep and my anxiety under control. I started going to sleep at 9 p.m., a habit that continued through college. Aside from a few one-off sleepless nights, I felt like I had conquered insomnia. And then, a couple years ago, I started to have trouble falling asleep again. It was my first year of graduate school. I had just moved across the country. I started a new job. I was financially independent for the first time in my life, and my anxiety was back in full force. Once again, I found myself lying awake until the early hours of the morning. I was frustrated and confused. I had found the cure to insomnia. I was still taking the medication and going to therapy, and yet it was rearing its ugly head again. What more was I supposed to do? Eventually, I adjusted to the significant changes in my life, and my sleep schedule was reestablished. And as soon as my sleep issues resolved, I promptly forgot how frustrating they had been. Sleep is a lot like being able to breathe through your nose. You don't appreciate it when you have it, and as soon as it's taken away from you, whether due to insomnia or a bad cold, you curse yourself for not appreciating it the other 99% of the time. I can say that now because I'm again experiencing sleep disruption. Recently, I've been waking up in the middle of the night, a new kind of insomnia, one with which I am quickly becoming well acquainted, and struggling to fall back asleep. What I'm learning now is that insomnia will probably always be part of my life. At different times, it's going to pop back up, and every time it does, I'll just have to find a new solution. It's also clear to me that my experience with insomnia is often tied to significant life events, changes at school and with my friends and as a kid, starting graduate school and moving across the country, and now applying to PhD programs and jobs and planning another move as I prepare to graduate this spring. Life is cyclical, and so is insomnia. In her book Wintering, Katherine May compares different stages of life to the seasons. The light, easy, warm moments are our summers. But with every summer comes a winter, a time of darkness, cold, and withdrawal. We like to imagine that it's possible for life to be one eternal summer, she writes, but however it arrives, wintering is usually involuntary, lonely, and deeply painful. It's also inevitable. We can't avoid the winter, much as we might try. And we are told to be ashamed of it. Wintering, the verb that May uses to describe the process of surviving life's winters, is embarrassing. It's something we all experience inevitably, but it's not something we're supposed to experience or talk about publicly. May wants us to think about winter differently. Her book, part memoir and part manifesto, tells us that winter is useful. She writes that winter is a time of withdrawing from the world, maximizing scant resources, carrying out acts of brutal efficiency and vanishing from sight. But that is where the transformation occurs. Winter is not the death of the life cycle, but its crucible. After all, summer is meaningless without contrast. We can't appreciate summer or sleep or breathing through our noses if we don't experience the lack. I wrote one of my senior theses in college. I wrote 2 senior theses, which is kind of ironic to mention in the context of a worship about rest, on leisure. But I didn't just write about leisure. My thesis was about leisure constraints, all of the little things that exist in our lives that get in the way of our leisuring. So stick with me here while I explain a little bit of sociology to you. Leisure, as I defined it, is all of the stuff we do for ourselves and no one else. The things we do not out of responsibility to ourselves or other people, but just because they make us feel good. Things that don't count as leisure. Going to work, even if you love your job. Eating a meal, even if the food is delicious. Sleeping, taking a shower, putting on deodorant. Things that do count as leisure include singing a song in the car, reading for pleasure, eating a chocolate bar when you're not hungry just because you want it, knitting. But the thing is, there are a lot of things in the world that get in the way of our leisure. These are leisure constraints, and they include hunger, needing to pay rent, having children, racism, taxes, email notifications. So what do we do when we need to experience leisure, but we're faced with all of these leisure constraints? Well, the reality is that life is not black and white. We occupy the in-between spaces all the time. There may never be a time when we exist totally free of leisure constraints, and yet we leisure anyway. If we spend our whole lives waiting to be free of constraints, the time for leisure will never come. Rest is a lot like leisure. I'm talking about real rest here, not your average night's sleep. I'm talking about the rest you do not because your body demands it, but because it makes you a better human. And like leisure, there are a lot of things in the world that prevent us from getting that kind of rest. The biggest obstacle to this kind of rest is that the world doesn't want you to. Rest is not neutral. Rest is not widely celebrated. Rest is a radical, anti-capitalist notion that rejects the status quo. When society tells us to get up and work, rest tells us to get comfortable and be. In capitalism, we are nothing if we are not producing, and rest is the antithesis to production. Radical rest dares to suggest that a lack of productivity does not make us worthless, as our society suggests. Radical rest tells us that our productivity is worthless if we do not rest. Radical rest tells us that our humanness is worth more than our non-human production. A lot of these ideas are indebted to the work of Tricia Hersey, the founder of the Nap Ministry, who makes the bold claim that rest is resistance. Hersey explicitly states that rest is a form of resistance against white supremacy and capitalism. She writes that our collective rest will not be easy. All of culture is collaborating for us not to rest. We are sleep deprived because the systems view us as machines, but bodies are not machines. Our bodies are a site of liberation. We are divine, and our rest is divine. If we want to rest, and I, like Hersey, firmly believe that rest is essential, especially if we are invested in deconstructing systems of oppression and exploitation, including white supremacy and capitalism, we must do so intentionally. We must view rest as resistance. We must strive for a radical rest. The claim that rest is resistance is not telling us to retreat to a place of comfort and to never emerge. The idea of a radical rest, that rest is resistance, means that rest is a place we go to in order to resist tyranny. When the world demands action, we resist with rest. Radical rest is about rejecting the capitalist emphasis on productivity. Radical rest is about changing the terms and conditions of our culture. Radical rest is putting on our own oxygen mask before we put the mask on the person next to us. Ultimately, when it comes to activism, rest is inevitable. When we face despair and outrage, we choose between two kinds of rest: reactive rest and proactive rest. Reactive rest happens when we burn ourselves out. We all find ourselves at a moment when our bodies, minds, and hearts say enough. The need for rest takes over, and we have no choice in the matter. We rest not out of a deep sense of knowing and commitment to returning, but because we have no other option and all we can do is collapse into bed. Proactive rest, on the other hand, takes self-awareness, understanding what is being asked of us, and knowing what we need to show up fully. When we rest proactively, we listen to what our bodies and hearts and minds are asking of us. What is hurting? Where am I feeling anxiety? Pain? Exhaustion? What do I need in this moment? I think we can all agree that the world is a scary place right now. Everywhere we turn, we're being reminded of tragedy, destruction, hatred, and fear. There are a million things that need to be done. Know your rights. Here's what to do if you're approached by an ICE agent. This is what your trans friends need from you. Here's how we're going to survive the next 4 years. Come to this march, boycott that company. There's too much to remember, and the stakes are just too high. Just being a person right now is exhausting. Forget about being a queer person, a trans person, a person of color, an immigrant, a disabled person, a person who cares about the well-being of any other person in this country. The last thing I need in my life is another person telling me what to do, and I'm pretty sure that you all feel that way too. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I am going to tell you something that you might not hear from anyone else in the midst of all this noise. It is okay to take a step back. It is okay to set boundaries. It's okay to say that you can't do everything. It's okay to rest. It might seem counterintuitive to look at the state of the world and decide that this is the time to rest. The Western world has decided that January 1st marks the beginning of a new year, a time for beginnings and commitments. And every 4 years in the United States, we recognize January 20th as a day of ultimate beginnings as a new presidential term is inaugurated. A little over a month ago, Donald Trump took office for the second time. We're less than 2 months into this new year, quote unquote new year. You may still be holding on to your New Year's resolutions, or you might be kicking yourself for having given them up already. But look around. The trees are still bare. The sky is still dark. The birds are still quiet. We are still deep in our winter. Our social world may be telling you otherwise, but the natural world reminds us that we are meant to be hibernating. Now is a time for storing up energy. The world will come back to life soon, sooner than you expect. We can't hope to meet the spring if we haven't made good use of our winter.
Our community is self-supporting, meaning we take financial responsibility for our needs. But we also believe in sharing our gifts. Our weekly spiritual practice is giving 1/2 of all our donations to organizations living out Unitarian Universalist values. Our Share of a Plate offering this morning goes to the UUA Disaster Relief Fund, which is part of a covenant between the UUA and congregations, between congregations who give generously and those in need, and with our community partners. Through aiding our congregations, their members, and their community partners, we are able to embody our faith and values. Currently, the UUA Disaster Relief Fund is offering grants to those impacted by the Los Angeles area fires. Those in the service may give cash, checks, or donate electronically. Text the number in your order of service or visit our website under the Giving page. If you are visiting for the first time, either in person or online, you are our guest, so today's worship is on the house. In-person attendees can find a physical visitor card in the pew racks in front of you. Please complete it and put it in the collection plate in lieu of a donation. Information about how to give online and how to complete the virtual visitor card will soon be shared with live stream attendees through text on your screen. The offering will now be generously given and gratefully received.
Those who wish to do so are invited to join in the unison affirmation. We gather not for ourselves alone, but to use our common power to build the beloved community within and beyond these walls. We create and reaffirm this covenant today to make justice flourish, to practice compassion amidst difference, and to embody transformative love. Now please rise in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 298, Wake Now My Senses.
stay. Some of you may remember that when I preach, I encourage people to say amen when the Spirit moves them. But I know that not everyone here is used to doing that, so I'm going to cue you when I want y'all to say amen with me, okay? We know that we are our ancestors and our descendants, and that rest heals our past, our present, and our future. So we will rest when we are tired. Amen. We also know that creativity is nurtured by time to play, that love is deepened by time together, that revolution needs time to imagine. And we know that we got each other. So when we need a break, we will take a break. Amen. And finally, we know that right now there are very powerful people in this country who aren't taking breaks as they sow the seeds of hate more and more every single day into legislation and institutions that harm so many of our beloveds here at home as well as so many others around the world. We know that we aren't free until everyone is free. And so when we have gotten our rest, after we've taken that break that our weary heart or body needed, we will wake up. We will say no to hate, to fear, to fascism, all of it. And we will rise humbly hearted, undivided, and the Spirit to guide us. Amen. May it be so. Now, please stay risen in spirit or body or both and join our youth as we all join in a reprise of We Rise.
Please join me in reciting the words for extinguishing the chalice printed in your order of service. Extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. The service has ended, but our life of service continues. Please join everybody in the Sims room in the back for coffee and conversation.